Welcome back to Smart Life. I am Dr. Gina. Always good to have you with us. Every now and then, we hear about miraculous recoveries from very dire cancer diagnoses, but there are some who have made the decision to do the research and make major changes in their lives to fight cancer, and they've successfully won. One of those is Chris Wark. His website is chrisbeatcancer.com, and he's chronicled his journey there, and he joins us here today. Chris, welcome to Smart Life. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, Dr. Gina, thanks for having me.
Chris, I want to ask you first about your particular diagnosis, your story. What prompted all of this?
Yeah, well, I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer when I was 26.
Wow.
So, that definitely prompted the journey. It was a total shock, as anyone, could imagine, especially being diagnosed with young adult cancer. But what I think a lot of people don't realize is that young adult cancer is on the rise big time, because my generation is the fast food generation and the processed food generation. I mean, we were raised on this stuff, and it's paying some seriously negative dividends.
You decided to decline your chemotherapy. Seems like a big decision for somebody so young. I mean, most traditional medical professionals, experts, if you will, would tell you you need this chemotherapy. What did your doctor think about your declining the chemo?
Well, yeah, the oncologist that I met with after I had surgery, I had stage 3 colon cancer. That I had surgery, and they said you need 9 to 12 months of chemotherapy. And I went and met with the oncologist, and I had already started researching nutrition and natural therapies. I had adopted a raw vegan diet. I started juicing. I found out about all this information and really just went for it because it made sense to me that this idea that the body can heal, right? And that maybe the reason I have cancer is because I've been eating a Western diet. Cancer is a Western disease, and I've been eating a Western diet. And so
when you say cancer is a Western disease, explain that.
Well, there's 2 types of disease. There's infectious disease and there's chronic disease. Infectious diseases like tuberculosis, malaria, influenza, those are typically diseases of poverty, and we see those in third world countries. But the interesting thing is, even things are changing now in our day and time, but 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, Western diseases did not exist in third world countries, which is why they named them Western diseases. So what are they? Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, ulcers, hemorrhoids, Crohn's disease, and on and on and on. These are diseases of affluence and diseases of prosperity that were formerly only existed in industrialized nations like Europe and the United States.
So for the countries that aren't as prone, I guess, to the sort of affluence that you're describing, do they have the same cancer rates as us, or do we have higher cancer rates than
way
anyone else?
higher, way higher. Yeah, if you look at rural Africa, if you look at South America, you look at rural parts of India and China, their cancer rates, even today, still much, much lower, exponentially lower for most solid tumor type cancers. The major cancer killers, lung cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, were virtually non-existent in rural Africa 50 years ago. And due to westernization and industrialization, they've adopted a Western diet, which is lots of meat and dairy, lots of processed food, fast food, junk food, refined sugar and salt. All of these factory produced foods produce disease. They're unhealthy, unnatural foods.
Okay, so you have a lot of videos on your site because you can't speak personally to everyone about your journey and their answers that they need, and you wanted to be able to reach out to everyone who had a question for you. Your site is called, one of the videos on your site is called What Every Cancer Patient Needs to Know. We don't have time for everything in that video, but can you give us the short version of what people facing cancer generally don't understand about their disease?
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of just touched on it a little bit, which is that cancer is largely a product of a Western diet and lifestyle. And most people don't realize that. They're told that it's genetic, that it's hereditary, et cetera, et cetera. And the truth is, there are parts in the world where people are not getting cancer. And it's not because they have better genes than us. It's because they're living a very different diet and lifestyle. They're eating tons of whole plant food from the earth, very little animal products. They're not vegan, but very little, like between 1 and 10% of their diet, about 5% on average, comes from animal products and 95% coming from plants. And when you convert to a diet like that, where you're eating tons and tons of raw and cooked plant food, right? Fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts, grains, whole foods from the earth, your body responds by working better. You lose weight and it starts the healing process. Now, I did a lot of juice fasting and ate tons of raw food. And so cancer patients need to know, hey, your body can heal, but this is a wake-up call. You've got to change your life, right? Cancer is a divine tap on the shoulder. And that message is, hey, the way you're living is killing you, right? You've got to change your whole life.
So, one of the things that I find interesting is you talk a lot about how the medical industry, the cancer industry, which we can't take the money out of the equation, unfortunately, and you say they have a lot of mistruth to market to people who are kind of helpless victims of their marketing. When you're desperate for answers and you have cancer and you think your life is ending, you're willing to pay a lot of money, put your life in hock if it takes that, to be able to have a cure. And you're saying that it leads to a lot of misinformation. Tell us about that marketing.
Absolutely. The truth is that the cancer industry since 1950 has only reduced the cancer death rate by 5%. 5% since 1950. That is the absolute truth. Now, it varies based on different types of cancer. So to give them credit, they've had very good success with childhood leukemia, with Hodgkin's disease,
Okay.
and with testicular cancer. But with solid tumor cancers, lung cancer, brain, colon, breast, they've had almost zero progress in 60 years. Okay. And so, yeah, they've devised a lot of ways to hype up their therapies. We have these new targeted therapies, or we have new drugs, and on and on and on. But when you just simply look at the death rate, and there's a new video on my site about this, when you just look at the death rate, it's only come down 5% in 60 years overall.
That's really interesting, especially when you consider the amount of money spent on cancer. It really makes you wonder. If there's one important thing you had to say, this needs to be your takeaway, what is the one most important change people can make in their lives when they do get that tap on the shoulder, that divine tap on the shoulder, as you put it?
Well, yeah, you just need to understand, don't let anyone rush you into doing anything that you do not feel comfortable doing. Don't let them rush you into surgery, chemo, and radiation if it's going against your instincts and intuition. Most cancer patients have time. It's not a life-threatening, you're going to die tomorrow or next week situation. And it requires a total life change. And so I just encourage everyone to start reading and researching and learning and listening to people that have healed cancer, because there's thousands of them out there, especially now. They're so easy to find online. They're everywhere. I interview a lot of them on my site.
Yeah, and you have some fascinating videos there. I honestly cannot wait to sit and watch a bunch of them. Some of your gardening techniques and things like that are absolutely fascinating, and I do hope that people with cancer will take a closer look at those. What were you going to say?
I just said thanks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, well, we are definitely going to put all this up for our viewers and listeners here, Chris, and so they will have it. But tell us where we can find you.
It's chrisbeatcancer.com.
Beat Cancer, and you can too.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Up next, we're going to talk to a surgeon ready to confess what really goes on in the operating room while you're asleep. You're not going to want to miss this. Stay tuned for more Smart Life. Coming right up, 60 seconds.